up, guys? Welcome back to Daddy Dimes Radio. We have a shorter episode today.
And we're going to be starting off with some of the sad news that I'm sure all of you guys have already heard about as we are recording this on Friday, January 6th. And this incident occurred on Monday when Damar Hamlin went into cardiac arrest in the Monday Night Football game between the Bills and the Bengals. He is still listed in critical condition by the hospital in Cincinnati, but is improving and has awakened, and he is communicating through writing, although he still cannot speak. And with this news that he is improving, I've heard that the spirits of the Bills locker room and team out on the practice field, their spirits are improving as well, and they're trying to prepare for a big game against the Patriots in the final week of the season. And as we talk about the end of the season here, throughout all this horrible news, the NFL has had to decide what they want to do with this postponed game, which obviously has all sorts of emotions with it, which after waiting a couple days, they have decided to cancel that game. It will not be played. But now they're taking a vote on something that could possibly set up an AFC title game that could be played at a neutral site due to the missed opportunity for the Bills or the Bengals to get that number one seed, that as long as the Chiefs now win against the Raiders this weekend, the Chiefs will have the number one seed, the Bills the 2 and the Bengals the 3. With all that said, we're going to be talking about our end of season and then playoff predictions here. And then Levi, the Packers and the Lions, two of the most red hot teams in football, play this weekend. With if Green Bay wins, they get in. The Lions cannot get in due to their loss to the Seahawks, who currently hold the 7th seed, and they would get in if the Lions beat the Packers. So what's your prediction for that Packers-Lions game?
I think the Packers are going to beat the Lions and get the, 7th seed in the playoffs. So I think the Packers will be able to win that game, and the Seahawks won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Seahawks have had a great run with the hero story of Geno Smith making a Pro Bowl and trying to lead his team to the playoffs after being a backup for 7 years. But I do agree Aaron Rodgers will find a way to get his team in there. And I think the Packers are a team that could possibly even have a decent run in the playoffs as the 7th seed. But we'll get into more of that in a second. So then the Steelers play the Cleveland Browns this week. So basically, if we look here, if the Patriots beat the Bills, they're in. But obviously, you have to think, even with all this going on, the Bills are more likely to win that game, correct?
Yeah.
So we say that. So the only way the Pittsburgh Steelers get in is if the Patriots and the Dolphins lose. So if we're saying in our prediction the Patriots lose, it now comes down to Steelers first have to beat the Browns, who are also hotter, and they have Deshaun Watson in. Both of these hot teams. Who do you think win that game, Steelers or Browns?
Browns.
You think the Browns knock Mike Tomlin out the playoffs?
Yeah.
And then I personally think Pittsburgh's going to beat the Browns, but then they also have to have the Miami Dolphins lose to the New York Jets because the Dolphins beat the Steelers earlier this season. And the Jets have Joe Flacco at quarterback, who I would say is a downgrade from Mike White. I'd put him above Zach Wilson just experience-wise, turnover-wise.
Because Zach Wilson sucks.
But you have to remember also, Tua's out. Teddy Bridgewater likely to start, but they might have to turn to Skylar Thompson.
Oh, game's over. Dolphins automatically win. Skylar Thompson's the GOAT.
Realistically, though, what's your prediction for the Dolphins-Jets game?
I think the Jets are going to win. I think they're going to rely on Teddy Bridgewater throughout the third quarter, not score once. Skylar Thompson's going to come in, score 20 points, but it's just not going to be enough to win.
All right, so then in your situation there, you have all 3 of the possible teams losing,
yes,
which would put New England in at the 7th seed. I personally think Dolphins and Patriots will lose, and the Steelers will get in because Mike Tomlin just always finds a way to get into the playoffs. But so we need to decide here before we get into our simulation. Do we want to go with the Patriots at the 7th seed or the Steelers?
We'll do the Patriots.
All right, Patriots it is. And as we go down to the NFC, our simulation so far has the Packers earning that 7th seed. And then just like the AFC, all those top 6 seeds are already clinched. There's some possible movement in the 1 seeds.
49ers and Eagles.
The Cowboys can move up to the 1 seed if Eagles and the 49ers lose. But I think it's either going to be San Francisco or Philadelphia. But I feel like right now we'll go with Philadelphia. We still don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to play or not. And obviously the Eagles have lost their 2 games with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, although one of them was against the Cowboys. But the loss to the Saints really hurts. Anyways, let's go ahead and kind of predict these games as they would be right now. Starting things off with the Buffalo Bills playing the New England Patriots for the 2nd week in a row once these playoffs will get started after they play them this week. Who wins that game?
The Bills.
I agree, pretty obvious as the Bills. Most likely, if they would have beat the Bengals, they have the number 1 seed, Then we have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. Who do you think wins that one? And Lamar is still in question. Like, we don't even know if Lamar's going to play in the playoffs. He might not. Who knows? If Lamar's there, I could see why you'd go Ravens. But if Lamar is not there, Bengals are going to absolutely dominate them because the Ravens just won't be able to put up points without Lamar.
Yeah, Bengals.
So I think the safer pick is the Bengals. And then we've got – we forgot to do another thing to see who makes playoffs here. Obviously, the Jaguars and the Titans, the AFC South is undetermined. They're both 8-8, and they play this week. So the winner of that game gets the 4 seed. Who do you think wins, Jags versus Titans?
I think the Jaguars.
I agree. They're on a hot streak. Titans on a low streak. Joshua Dobbs is going to be at quarterback for the Titans, and they just won't be able to put up enough points to compete with the Jags. But then that puts the Jags up against a 10-6, 5-seeded Chargers team. Who do you think wins that one?
Chargers.
I agree. Which puts the Chargers up against the 1 seed and their rival, who they've had some great games with the past couple years, Herbert versus Mahomes. We got the Chiefs versus Chargers in the divisional round. Who do you have taking that one?
Chiefs.
I agree. The Chiefs seemingly find a way to win against the Chargers this season in the close games, although that wasn't happening last season. And then Bills versus Bengals in the rematch from this Monday Night Football game. Obviously would be a very emotional game, but who do you think would win?
Bengals.
All right, going with the Bengals, having a deep playoff run 2 years in a row, and then an AFC Championship rematch from last year between the Bengals and the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs are going to win it this time.
I agree. I think the Chiefs are just destined to actually get back to the Super Bowl.
I think if the Bills beat the Bengals, they might beat the Chiefs. But I think the Bengals will win that game.
Now, the Chiefs have lost to both the Bills and the Bengals in the regular season, but a lot does change for the playoffs. And then we move down to the NFC, which would have the 49ers versus the Packers.
49ers.
I agree. Packers on a hot run get unlucky by playing who I think is the best team in the NFC, the 49ers. Undefeated since they got Christian McCaffrey. It's just a whole different team with him. And Eagles, obviously right there with them. But we then have the Vikings versus the Giants. Had a really good game a couple weeks ago that the Vikings ended up pulling out on a 61-yard game-winning field goal.
I think I'm going to go with the Giants because the Vikings recently have been kind of sucking.
I agree. And Giants they start off hot. They cool down a lot. but now they've played well at the end of the season to clinch Daniel Jones that playoff berth and kind of get him the respect he deserves,
If they could stop Justin Jefferson, they're going to win that game.
Which they have a chance. They've got such good defense. They don't really have a super good lockdown corner, but they have a good pass rush.
Like how the Packers did with Jair.
Yeah, but, I mean, obviously the Giants don't have a Jair Alexander. But then we have the Bucs versus the Cowboys.
I'm going to take the Cowboys.
I agree. Tom Brady just has not had his best luck past couple of years on and off the field. Cowboys move on, and then they get a divisional round rematch, which was a great game. A great game last year. 49ers versus Cowboys. Who wins that one?
49ers.
And then NFC East division matchup, which obviously 3 of the 4 teams in the division round in this simulation are from the NFC East, but Giants versus Eagles.
I think the Giants will win it because I think the Eagles are going to be lost because Jalen Hurts is not going to play.
You don't think? Why would he not play?
Because he's going to get injured in that.
You think he's going to get injured worse?
He's gonna try to play and then injure himself halfway through the game, and then the Giants are going to pull it out.
All right. I think the Eagles will win, but I like the Giants team a lot, so we'll give them a chance to make a Cinderella run. So then NFC Championship, 49ers versus Giants.
The 49ers clap the Giants.
Okay. I think it would actually be a pretty good game because the teams are built on great defense. And we'll see how Brock
Purdy performs. Even if the Eagles do beat the Giants, the 49ers still beat the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Which gives us a Super Bowl rematch from a few years ago, which the Chiefs won. But now with Brock Purdy at the helm and even more defensive upgrades than before, Deebo Samuel is a much better player. Christian McCaffrey.
George Kittle.
Then on the other hand, Chiefs lose Tyreek Hill since then, but get Nick Bolton, one of the best linebackers in the league. 49ers versus Chiefs. Who wins the Super Bowl?
49ers, because I think the changes of the 49ers defense adding Christian McCaffrey is going to be huge for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the 49ers are going to win.
All right. And then we get into the college football playoff where Georgia beat Ohio State in one of the best games of all time. And then TCU stuns Michigan in another high-scoring thriller that featured multiple pick sixes. So then who do you think will win the championship, TCU versus Georgia?
I think Georgia's going to win the game because TCU sucks and the refs did not call targeting on them, which was obvious targeting on them, which is why Michigan lost.
All right, so I think Georgia will win, but I think it'll be a pretty good game. Then in the other bowl games, Tulane, who beat K-State this year, and then ended up beating another team that finished top 10 in their bowl game. They beat USC in an epic comeback that involved 2 touchdowns and a safety. And that was a really fun game to watch.
Penn State easily beats Utah after star quarterback Cameron Rising goes down.
And then Alabama beat K-State in a dominant win after a strong start from the Cats. Unfortunate for that. But the Cats did have a great season, one of the best in a very long time.
K-State Athletics, after becoming Big 12 champions and making it to the Sugar Bowl in football, the basketball team is currently 13-1, coming off an overtime win over ranked West Virginia and beating 6th-ranked Texas by scoring 116 points, the most ever for an unranked team facing a ranked team on the road. In that game, Marquise Noel had 36 points and Keontae Johnson had 28.
And then Keontae Johnson obviously has kind of a similar story to Damar Hamlin, just not on the same level because he's not a football player. But he collapsed during a game during his sophomore year when he was at Florida. Florida medical team did not clear him, but after seeing NBA medical doctors that cleared him, he transferred to K-State and is averaging about 17 points a game under our new coach and really leading us to what has been very, very good season so far. So that's going to do it. And we'll see you guys next time.